Today we have a scripture, one you've probably heard before, about the death of Lazarus. And I will tell you that it takes a while to read it. It's long on purpose. And I want you to remember that. It's long on purpose. Okay? John 11, 1 to 44. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." But when Jesus heard it, he said, "This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for the God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this he said to his disciples, "Let us go to Judea again." The disciples said to him, "Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and you want to go there again?" Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble because they see the light of this world, but those who walk at night stumble because the light is not in them." After saying this, he told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he's fallen asleep, he'll be all right." Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, and they thought that he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead. For your sake, I'm glad I was not there so that you may believe, but let us go to him." Thomas, who is called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem and some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him." And Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." And Martha said to him, "I know he'll rise again in the resurrection on the last day." And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" And she said to him, "Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, "The teacher is here and is calling for you." And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come to the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. The Jews who were with her in the house, consoling her, saw that Mary got up quickly to go out, and they followed her because they thought she was going to the tomb to weep there. When Mary came where Jesus was and saw him, she knelt at his feet and said to him, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who came with her also weeping, he was greatly disturbed in spirit and greatly deeply moved. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" And they said to him, "Lord, come see." And Jesus began to weep. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, again greatly disturbed, came to the tomb, and it was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. And Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, already there's a stench because he's been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. And Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so they might believe that you sent me." When he had said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. And Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." The word of the Lord. When my children were young, their grandmother died of cancer. And before she was cremated, they placed her in a rented casket for a few hours for the family to see her and say goodbye. Now, I really wasn't sure this was necessary. I really wasn't sure of that. Well, boy, was I wrong. The children, including their cousins, were frightened to see Grandma dead in the casket. So we all went up together and we talked about it. I asked them what they saw when they looked at Grandma. One of the children said, "She looks like a wax figure I saw in a museum." Another said, "She looks fake." Another said, "That's not my grandma." This open dialogue gave us the opportunity to share feelings and thoughts about what death was like and what was gone. I told them that all parts of Grandma that made her special were no longer in there. Our bodies are wonderful and can do a lot of things, and God made them perfectly. But the part that God created even more perfectly is what's inside everyone's heart, their spirit or their soul. And I told them that this heart soul is the part of Grandma that made her laugh at your jokes, that made her cook with you in the kitchen at her special stool just for grandchildren, or to bring you out to the garden with her to pick her flowers. And your special heart soul inside of you, I said, helped you when Grandma got sick and you knew you should go get her shawl to put around her so she wouldn't be cold, or to bring her favorite raised donut from Dunkin' Donuts, or her Hershey's chocolate bar when she wasn't feeling well, and it had to be Hershey's. I continued to explain that when our soul or our spirit leaves our bodies, then what's left behind doesn't look or feel quite the same. They thought about this for a while, as one of the younger children was very concerned about Grandma going into the ground. But after he saw her lying there, not really Grandma anymore, and we had a chance to talk about it, he felt a little better about that. See, death is a topic to be treated carefully and to be taken seriously, for those left behind especially. This was certainly evident with the children. They had needed this experience and time and safe people to process it with. And the text we read today is full of pure emotion and honesty. The attention isn't on the one who died, Lazarus, but instead the focus is on the living, on Mary and Martha, his sisters, and then Jesus, his friend. The text seems to identify with caregivers of all kinds, including those we've already seen in this miracle series by A.J. Levine. We've walked with the friends and families who present people to Jesus. They're caregivers and advocates. Jairus, whose daughter had died, the friends who lowered the man down through the roof, the ones who brought the blind man to Jesus, and now the miracle of death being overcome, and siblings that were impacted and tried to advocate for their brother. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." We've established relationship with this opening text. This family is close to Jesus. They might be more like cousins. And just for reference, the name Lazarus means God helps. Isn't that interesting? In the past, we get the idea that Mary and Martha don't really get along, but now it appears as if they've pulled together with their brother's death, and they're close. They sent a message to Jesus, after all, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." They state the problem. Now, typically the next thing to happen is for there to be a solution. Mary and Martha believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Therefore, they would expect Jesus to drop what he's doing and go to them. They would expect healing. And the Lord does not. In fact, he stays 2 more days where he is. Jesus says, "This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it's for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it." Accordingly, though Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, after having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Okay, how many of you want to confront Jesus about his decision-making here? AJ surely does. AJ Levine. And I'm feeling that way a little bit too. This is from AJ. "I want to argue with Jesus. What do you mean by staying 2 days longer where you were? Do something. The one you love is dying, your friend. So is the glory of God more important than your friend? If people have to suffer physical or mental debilitation, or if they have to die so the glory of God can be revealed, I'm off to find a different God. And to the author John, I would say with a nicely biblical rhetorical flourish, your Jesus looks to me to be unsympathetic. Friends, this is what wrestling with the text looks like. We don't have to give up on the text. Instead, we can wrestle with it. Now, the news to the disciples that Lazarus is dead. Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to awaken him. And the disciples said to him, Lord, if he's fallen asleep, he'll be all right. Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, and they thought that he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. The text is long, it is drawn out. Most of the miracle stories are not this long. John allows us to live into the text a bit, to wallow in the text, to sit with the details, to hear proclamations of faith, to hear about the promises of God. We need to sit in the details of death more often, to sit with our strong emotions. When one of our beloved parishioners was close to death by cancer, he reached out to me to come to his apartment to help plan his own funeral. Now, it was a bit surreal. I had never done this before. I had been to the funeral home with people to help them at the funeral home make their choices, but I had never been with someone, because I'm kind of a newbie, in their home to help plan their funeral before they died. It was eye-opening, kind of, to go through this, and it was really quite a beautiful experience. And then he told me he wanted to be moved to a hospice facility before he died, as he didn't want his wife to have to live in the apartment after he'd gone and have memories of him dying there. He thought it would be really hard for her, and she agreed. Well, best laid plans. His time ended up coming too quickly to move him to hospice, and he died at home in his favorite chair. And when I arrived to be with the family, there were tears and sorrow, but also this deep sense of peace that they had been with him when he died and that they were with his body now. The funeral home was delayed, so we were able to stroke him and talked about his funny little feet. And we cried some more, and we touched him some more. Death took our beloved away, but in its place came a strange sense of peace and love through spending time with him after death. And death was real to Martha. She was hurting. She'd been living in the details for 4 days and was probably quite angry with Jesus. But yet, Martha declares to her Lord that she believes. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. But right now in the text, Martha just wants her brother with her, beside her. Now, most Jews at this time believed in the resurrection of the dead. It was sufficient for many Jews, but not for Martha and Mary right now. Now, we know the story. Jesus calls Lazarus out of the tomb. He's been dead 4 days. The body is starting to decompose. But Jesus says, this illness does not lead to death. Rather, it's for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. A miracle will occur, but it's already happening through Martha. She becomes the model for the gospel's ideal readers. She believes, and through our faith in Jesus, so should we. So I guess the question is, why do we study this passage today? What's special about it? Why do we study this passage? What's special about it? Shows their faith.
Seems like the ultimate miracle.
Like the ultimate miracle, right? Resurrection from the dead. It's the ultimate miracle.
Of course, another thing to think about is doubt, because we doubt.
Doubt,
that
sure.
Christ is listening.
Right, that we doubt Christ is listening, right? We doubt, okay. Right, that helps us with our doubt maybe. Why else? Why do we study this? Yes? resurrection on earth like it's going to be when we die. We see that. That's really good, yeah. We could, yes. Yes. That's interesting, sure. Any other reasons why we study this? Yes?
It doesn't occur on our timetable, it occurs on God's.
Oh, that's so hard, isn't it? It doesn't occur on our timetable, it occurs on God's time. And boy, is that tough. Jesus could have showed up and not done anything and just wept with them. That's right. God's timetable is not our timetable. Oh, that's probably the hardest one to accept, don't you think? I just think it's really, really hard. I mean, Lazarus lives again now, but he's going to die again like the rest of us. And Jesus, we saw him weeping. It shows his human side with love for his friend. And Mary and Martha got their greatest desire, when Jesus raised their brother. Death is hard, friends. The sisters mourn, Jesus mourns. These are important things. We heard a little glimpse of this, but I keep wanting to ask the question, how is this all relevant to us today? Today. We heard a few things, didn't we? About doubting, about this could be like what it feels like for us later on. We heard some things. Jesus called Lazarus to come out, to come to life instead of death. This is a very important message just today. Martha confessed her faith in Jesus, and then miracles happen. And we need to learn about these miracles. Miracles tell us what Jesus does and what God does. And according to AJ, her quote, "If we perceive something to be a miracle, then the test for viability should be the answer to the question, so what? How does believing in a miracle or believing in the miracles we've discussed over the last 7 weeks change our life? Change our view of nature, of the human body, or of Jesus? What does it spark us to do or believe? Or even, how does reading the story of, say, the stilling of the storm or the raising of the dead move us, at least for a moment, into a different reality, a realm where all things are possible through God? And why might that be important to us? Because our journey, friends, is not a straight line. Our faith journey isn't a straight line. Our lives aren't a straight line. In between all the good and the joy and the fun mess, there's often chaos and pain. We get fired from a job. A child stops talking to us. Our spouse dies. Our house catches on fire. Our partner cheats. Our mortgage rate increases. Our parents or our children get cancer and need care. Or our kids' college rates double. Many things can happen to us in our lifetimes. And if we don't take the moments that we have to share feelings about scary things, like the death of the children's grandma, or like being with a beloved and sitting with their body after they die, we miss something. We need to share moments together of deep, deep love and savor them, live in them, feel them, because if we don't, Jesus could share a miracle with us and we might not even see it or feel it. We're too numb or we're too busy. We need to be the all things are possible with God kinds of people. That kind of disciple. And that's why we studied these miracles. Because miracles are still out there. God is still at work every day. So friends, let's promise each other. We need to do this to live each day more fully, to embrace each other, and to come to life instead of death. Jesus is calling us out of the tomb every day. Will we be ready when he does? Will we hear him? Amen.